Planning and Minister of State Corporate Affairs, Rao Inderjit Singh ji, to kindly deliver the inaugural address.
Mr. Rajesh Verma, Secretary Corporate Affairs, Shri Ashok Gupta, Chairman CCI, Honorable Members of the NCLAT, Ashok Misra ji and Rakesh Kumar ji, Members of CCI, Sangeeta Verma ji, Bhagwant Singh Bishnoi ji, lawyers, senior officers and staff of the CCI, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are celebrating the 75th year of our independence. Also the 8th year of Narendra Bhai Modi's Sarkar. And in this iconic week that each ministry has been assigned to celebrate these momentous events, we are here gathered at this seminar to see how we can put India into the world's limelight all over again. And as I stand before you, and I see those murals at the back, depicting Indian soldiers, English soldiers, all in battle dress. And it comes to mind that after 200 years of ruling over us, what did the British really leave us? Apart from the love for the English language. And it comes to mind that the British, when they left India in a mess. We may have these pictures, they may have taught us the art of war. They used us in the First World War, they used us in the Second World War. Our soldiers sacrificed themselves on the fields of Flanders in Africa, and British rule was a rule on which the sun never set. But according to Agnes Madison, who's an economist of world fame from a university in Holland, and also a member or a fellow of the University of Cambridge, when the British began to dominate or dominated India in the mid-18th century, 1850, 1860, after the First War of Independence of 1857, India had a share in the world economy of around 24 to 25%. And 200 years down the line, when in 1947 the British left India, our share of the world economy was only 3%, measly 3%. From 24%, we were left with 3%. And the British Empire survived, flourished at our expense. I also get to this feeling that when they left us, they destroyed our educational system. And Lord Macaulay, who was one of the Governor Generals of India in those days, when the British had overriding powers, had conquered, say, the whole of India, Lord Macaulay went and told the British government, we have conquered the land that is called India. But we have not conquered the minds of the people of India. And unless we can subjugate the Indian people properly, we will not be able to rule for them forever, as he expected to do. And to rule over the minds and to subjugate the minds, we have to change the educational system of India. Reverse it. Make them love the English language. Make them see things in black and white, that white is better. If you have chitty skin, you are good. If you have a brown skin, you are bad. And so you follow the ways of the white people. Do away with the old traditional system that India had for centuries and which made India a world economic power. Some people defeated us, but mostly whoever came to India, we assimilated them. And India prospered in spite of all the people who came across the mountains, jealous of our wealth, took some of it away, but we got back together again and we again prospered. And coming to our lifetimes, the 75 years that we have been independent, look at it. When India became independent, only 16%. When India became independent, 47, only 61% of our economy was agriculture. Not only, most of it was in agriculture, 61% of our economy was agriculture. Today, 75 years later, only 16% of our economy depends on agriculture. And who are the new creators of this wealth? Who are the new kids on the block? Services, manufacturing, industry, information technology, and not to mince words, foreign direct investment comes to our country because of the rule of law. And today, when I'm here in this seminar of the CCI, I remember the days when I was in college and I had to study an act called the Monopolies and Restrictive Trade Practices Act. Mr. Gupta assures me that it has metamorphosed into the CCI, very ably so, by all reports that I can see. The question is that can we get over this legacy of the British where we suspect our neighbor, where we are jealous of our neighbor, and if he is doing well, we must pull his leg down. That's where you come in, to ensure that there is fair practice in business, in all dealings that's economic. And for that you are assembled here. You're the best minds that we have, at least we think you're the best minds that we have, and therefore you have been put in positions here, those that are on the dais and those that are sitting over here. We hope that you can make an overriding attempt to wash out all the British taught us that was negative, that went in their favor but went against the Indian ethos that has survived for millennia, for thousands of years, and had made us a great nation. The world perceives us as a rising power. Can we see ourselves as a rising power? The question that we have to inculcate in our people and in our forces, in our economists, industrialists, services wallahs, is belief in themselves, not belief in those red-coated messengers of the British Raj. And so today, I wish to say this, that the government, when we gained independence, was mostly into infrastructure. They controlled most of the industry. Birlas and Tatas used to come to mind, only two people who used to create wealth in the country. But most of the industry was government-owned, public-owned. Today, the government has changed its role, especially during these 8 years of the Modi regime. We have changed this role. We are not a regulator anymore. We're not an inspector anymore. We're a facilitator. And if we are a facilitator, we want to know that you are doing things in the right way. You're not pulling your neighbor's leg. You're not coveting his land. And that together, if you work and pull together, you can again become a nation that India once was. And not that India in this lifetime of ours, in these 75 years that we have since independence, not that we weren't looked up to once. I remember my younger years, and those that are sitting here, perhaps they also remember the younger years, when India was the leader of the non-aligned movement. Anybody who got independence from foreign persecutors looked up to India because we were able to raise a voice. We were heard, but not always listened to. The economic power is what's going to make us not only audible, but persuasive in whatever we wish to implement vis-a-vis the world. And foreign policy being one of them. The world has now become smaller. Everybody connects immediately with anybody else all across the globe. The foreign policy that once had been watered down, and we were influenced by this bloc and we were influenced by that bloc, has come a full circle again. India looks to itself first and looks to others afterwards. Only after we have looked after ourselves can we look after the world. And the foreign policy, on that score today, I'm proud to say that we are still that non-aligned movement. Russia has been a partner for decades, ages. When everybody else who was a big power was sending fleet, 7th Fleet, to the Bay of Bengal, when Bangladesh was liberated, Russia stood by our side. Today what I have to say is this, that Russia and Ukraine are having a problem. Fair enough. We have a problem with China. We have a problem with Pakistan. Nobody takes sides with us. Everybody just sort it out amongst yourselves, amongst the subcontinent itself. Why should we be pulled into a block that says side with Russia or side with Russia? I say, and the government says, and Modi ji says, and the foreign policy says, India sides with India first and foremost and always. And if we were to side with anybody, at all, we must remember this. Who controls these wars? The arms lobbies. Who benefits the most? The arms lobby. जो बनाते हैं, उनके तो खाने भर जाते हैं, उनके तो खजाने भर जाते हैं, और दूसरे लोग अपनी जान गंवा बैठते हैं। पर उनके लिए हम अपने आदमियों को, अपनी हैसियत को और अपनी इकोनॉमी को खतरे में डालें, ये भारतवर्ष के लिए उचित नहीं है। तो मैं यूँ आपसे कहना चाहता हूँ साथियों कि we have covered a long distance. But 75 years in a nation's life is a very small, significant amount. But even though it's a small, significant account, it is progressing. Time is progressing for the world in a geometrical progression. Fatafat. 100 years in 1200 AD is not the same as 100 years in 2022 AD. And so we have 100 years is a century. So in 100 years, we wish to project or leapfrog from this position down there, where we missed the industrial revolution of the 18th century. We wish to leapfrog from here and down up all to the platform where the British powers, where the American powers, European powers, the so-called developed economies stand. And we can do it. And just to cite an example, I wish to say to you that the tigers of Asia, the so-called economic tigers of Asia were who? Vietnam, Cambodia, Bangladesh even. And post-COVID, what is the situation? Vietnam in 2013-14 grew, their GDP grew at 5.6%. Post-COVID in 21-22, it grew at only 2.6%. Bangladesh, our neighbor, which we liberated, in 2013-14 grew at 6%. In 2021-22, it grew at 5%. Cambodia 7.4% to 2.2%. The so-called Asian tigers have floundered. And we, In 2012-13, when our government came to power and Modi became the Prime Minister, we were 6.4%. And today we are running at 8.7% as per the latest thing. UK, which ruled over us, 2013-14 grew at only 1.9%. We grew at 7 point, and now growing at 7.4%. These are figures, maybe just you say the statistics, but I think I believe that if you don't know these statistics, and I happen to believe that these are true statistics because I happen to control the ministry as well, that if we can achieve this post-COVID, in a span of 2 years, we have left all these fellows behind. We are progressing faster than them. All our rulers, all our neighbors. What can we not achieve in the 25 years that are to follow from here onwards? So for this, we must all work together. कंधे से कंधा मिला करके सबका साथ, सबका विकास, सबका सहयोग, इसके बिना नहीं चलेगा काम. और हम आज के लिए अपने लिए नहीं कर रहे, अपने देश के लिए कर रहे हैं, आने वाली नस्लों के लिए कर रहे हैं. और इसके लिए मैं आपको आह्वान करता हूं कि जिस भी जगह के ऊपर आज के दिन आप मौजूद हैं, कलम जहां पर आपके हाथ के अंदर है, आप अपने दिमाग से सोच करके, अपने दिल से सोच करके उसके ऊपर फैसला करिए, ना कि अपनी जेब में क्या है उसके ऊपर सोच करके फैसला किया जाए. यही मेरा आपसे अनुरोध है. धन्यवाद और जय हिंद.